So the next year, not the year, this was 1988. I decided to have a look at Panchchuli. Those are the 5 peaks in Kumaon.
Do you want to take a break?
To take a water break.
Water break?
Yeah, the break will come.
Oh, will come.
Yeah, it will come on. I hope you can hear me clearly because I'm kind of speaking sideways at times. So on this trip there were 4 of us. That's Dr. Kumkum Khadalia. She had been with the Nanda Devi women's team in 1981. And that's her husband Jayant, whom I know. And this is a guy called Ravish Puri. And once again, we had our trekking friends come up to base camp and they spent some time there and went back. Today, I believe you can stay here at Kumaon Mandal Vikas Nigam shelter. We had to walk 5 days to get here. There's a jeep road all the way to the base village of Duktu now. Unfortunately, what happened was we were on the wrong side of the glacier. We should have been on the other side. So this is the Myola Glacier. This is Panchchuli 3. 2 is there. This is the highest of the group. There are 5 peaks. This is 4 and 5 is just out of the picture. So we spent a week ferrying loads right across the glacier to the other side. And this was a new base camp. That's Panchchuli 5 at the back. The route up to the Myola Glacier from here was up this grass shelf, up this and round out of the picture there. The only other team that I had read about having tried to approach Panchchuli from the east, the Dharma Valley, was the 1950 Scottish team. And this gentleman called William Murray, who wrote the book. On his book, I found this picture. And if you will see the previous picture, we were exactly at the, sorry, it doesn't go back. So if you compare these 2 pictures, which are 38 years apart, it's very similar. We had a spell of very bad weather, 2 spells. In fact, we had to evacuate base camp and go back down to the village of Duktu. So we lost about 2 weeks right there. And then by the time we came back up and established 2 camps, winter was setting in. But we got tremendous views of the Panchchulis here. So the previous peak was 5, which was climbed by Stephen Venables and Chris Bonington, Dick Renshaw, etc. in I think 1992. Monish, correct? Yeah, so the gentleman there sitting in the audience, Monish, was part of that expedition. And the book that I mentioned in that, it's a gripping read because Stephen Venables had a fall on the descent. You can't see the route because they had climbed it from the other side. So on the rappel down, he had a fall and broke his knees. So evacuating him was an epic effort, and it's all detailed in this book. This Panchchuli 4 again has had only 1 ascent by a New Zealand team in September 1995, a chap called John Nankervis. It's very hard to find an account anywhere else but in the New Zealand Alpine Journal. But if you write to them, they'll probably send you a copy, as I did, because I was curious. I hadn't seen any kind of literature on it. And this is probably the most beautiful 6,000 meter peak I have ever seen in my life. This is Panchchuli 3. This again is unclimbed, which is very rare in this range of peaks. It has been attempted a few times, including by Divesh Muni, who was here some weeks ago, and his friend Theo, from the other side, not from the eastern side. And unfortunately, they had a 600-meter fall. I mean, they kind of, but luckily everyone survived, and the attempt was given up. There have been also some false claims to have climbed this peak, which have been discredited now. So if you're looking for a very challenging 6,000 plus meter peak in the Indian Himalaya, this is it. So our plan originally was to try and get onto this col here. This is the ridge, the south ridge of Panchchuli 2, and this is Panchchuli 3, and then try and get onto this. It's a very long south ridge. But once we saw the state of this glacier, this was a high point, maybe about 20,000 feet, and we would have to cross these very steep gullies and ribs, descend onto the glacier, tackle all these crevasses, and then even from here, this is almost 7,000 meter peak, 6,900 or so. So as a small team of 4 people with no support and no fixing of ropes, none of that kind of siege style of thing, it was beyond our abilities basically. I'm sure very good climbers can probably do it, but it wasn't going to be us. And with 2 spells of bad weather totaling about 15 days, we just kind of turned around. Which brings me to Brahma in 1989. Brahma is a peak in the Kishtwar Himalaya, and it was first climbed in 1973 by Chris Bonington and Nick Estcourt. And the first Indian ascent was done only 2 years ago. A full 50 years has passed between the first ascent and the first Indian ascent. And if you compare the two, they are of very different character. The first ascent was done just by 2 people, Chris Bonington and Nick Estcourt, in an almost alpine style push from a pole, whereas the 2023 team from West Bengal, it was a very large team, lots of Sherpas, lots of porters, high altitude porters, a lot of bandobast, and they also fixed ropes. This is where things are different between how most Indian teams climb and how most cutting edge foreign climbers climb. Anyway, coming back to Brahma, this is that's a peak, that's Brahma 1, this is Brahma 2. And the approaches, there are 2 approaches. This is the Kibar Nala and that's the Nanth Nala. We took the Nanth Nala, which had been explored. This had been explored in the 1960s, and this is the one which Bonington and company took. They went up to the col and they climbed it from here. Subsequently, Brahma 2 was climbed. Brahma 2 is higher than Brahma 1, and it looks much more difficult. Okay, any prizes for guessing who this gentleman on the right is? The one on the left is me, though I may not look like that today. Okay, Kamlesh, where are you? Do you recognize yourself? Okay, so that is Kamlesh, local secretary. He was 24 years old and he was the leader of the Brahma expedition. I was almost twice his age, I think, even at that time. So this picture has been taken on the way back from Brahma. So the idea of trying to climb Brahma came in February of that year. I was here rock climbing with my friend Farooq, and the Climbers Club hosted us. And probably had I don't know how we tried to even get to Brahma or even discuss it. Probably we had a couple of too many beers or something. I don't know. Because it is a tough peak. But the approach was beautiful up this Nantnala. Right, so we come up the Nantnala, that was a base camp. And then you have to cross over to the other side, follow the Brahma glacier right round. An advanced base camp was set up there. And then we had to get up onto this ridge here. This is the long southeast ridge, which was the route of the first ascent. There have been attempts from the north ridge as well by some Japanese and some other routes, but this was the easiest, well, relatively easier. So this is what we were looking at. The approach up to advanced base was also quite pretty, and you can see this is the Brahma glacier, and then we have come in from the left and come up here. This is the route up to the core. Quite a complicated way, very long. The core is about 16,500 feet, and advanced camp was about 12,000, so 4,500 feet or so of climbing there, of very challenging terrain. Anyway, we managed to establish ourselves on the col, and now we are at the foot of the southeast ridge, which is this thing. So the team from Bengal actually came from the Kibarnala, the other side, and they got onto this final pyramid and climbed to the top. That's view of Brahma too. It's a very imposing peak. Not many people have climbed that. There have not been too many ascents. I think maybe 3 or 4 at the most. There's another great peak in this area called Sickle Moon, and that's Sickle Moon. Again, very few ascents. I think the first ascent was by a large team from the army or the ITBP. This is Cerro Kishtwar, named after, the Cerro Torre peaks in Patagonia. And those of you who follow world alpinism, there have been some great climbs on this by, I think they were Yugoslavs. I'm not too sure, you can look it up. But again, very rugged country. Kishtwar Himalaya is known for this. Peaks up to 6,500 feet, but extremely, extremely challenging. We were following Chris Bonington's route, and it's interesting to see. I've taken this page from his book, and that's his picture. So they're coming up. You can see this is where Camp 1 was, just behind this thing. We have come up that little slope, had a camp there. And this is my picture. Same thing. So again, 1973, 1989. We probably have more snow during the time we were there. And that's of course Brahma too. Very imposing. The main difficulties on this southeast ridge are the 3 rock gendarmes, 3 rock pillars, and we could only get up to this point here. We realized again, too late, that for this kind of climbing, you need a lot of technical experience and a lot of skill as well, and definitely our skill set was not up to that. So that's a high point as far as we are concerned. also weather was moving in, and again, because our style of climbing was you're dragging up lots of heavy weight to each camp. We don't have any lightweight equipment, so everything slows you down. And also, by the time you're in place for any kind of summit push, you're already exhausted just from doing all the load ferrying and the establishing of camps, etc., etc. Not that that's an excuse, but I'm just going to tell you how it is. This is the way we gave up. The terrain above that is like this. This is again from Bonington's book. So these guys, they climbed to the summit on one single push from their last camp. They reached the summit, and on the way down, it was nightfall, so they spent the whole night just sitting on a block of rock, 4 feet by 4 feet, before coming down. This gentleman is Harshvardhan Subbarao. Some of you may know him. And he was the other person with Ravi Kamath when I was rescued on that rock climb in Mumbai. That's how I came to know him. And accidental friends. We started climbing. And in 1991, we decided, hey, let's go out and do something. That's his girlfriend, Anita. That's my old friend, Franklin. So the four of us went to Himachal. And we went up into the Dibi Bokri glacier. This is the Parvati river. This side, this is Thakur Kuan. This side is Manikaran. This is the head of the Parvati valley. So the Dibi Bokri comes in from here. It has got 1, 2, 3, 4 glaciers which feed into the Nala, which in turn feeds into the Parvati. You also have the Ratiruni from here, and behind this is the all Spiti. So you get the idea. And north of this is the Badashigi system, which I showed you earlier in 1985. So this is just so that you can locate yourself. And the peak which is frequently climbed in the Dibi Bokri is Rubalkam. Kulu Makalu just had its first Indian ascent, though it was first climbed in the 60s by the Italians. And out here you've got Dibi Bokri Pyramid, again climbed in the late 60s by 2 Britishers. Parvati, which is the highest in this area, very imposing peak, first ascent again by the Italians. Not many Indian teams go here, other than for Rubalcam. So we found that there was one peak here which the Italians had marked on their map as Ice Sail. We thought we might have a chance on that. So we went up from Thakurkua base camp, advanced base, and we left Franklin here alone because Anita, Harsha's girlfriend, went back from base camp. And he was alone here for about 10 days. Harsha and I moved up this glacier with supplies for about 10 days. And we managed to do some climbing. So looking back from base camp across the Parvati at Thakurkua, I was talking about, small peaks, technical peaks. This one is right above Thakurkua. A lot of you who've done the Mantalai trek or to what's that pass which goes into Spiti from there would be familiar with this. So we established a camp just a little above base camp at the midway on the glacier, and straight ahead is that's Kulu Makalu, and this is Rubalcam. There's a gap between these two. On the other side, we climbed this little point here. I'm having trouble. Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, we climbed this point here to have a look at our peak, proposed peak. So our camp is down here. This wasn't a very long climb, very fairly easy, about 6 hours to the top there. And we got a glimpse of what the Italians had called ice sail. I don't know why they call it ice sail, because this side was all black. Maybe they had seen it from glacier number 2, where it was all snow. So we thought this route would be doable by the two of us. That's from our camp. So we set off at about 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was not technically difficult again, but great views. And all the way to the summit. So this was a very nice first ascent, and it happened to be my birthday that day, so it was a great birthday present. We should have actually gone back after this, but you get greedy, so we went to the head of the glacier and camped below Koramangala, hoping to climb Rubalkang by a different route. So we went straight up, got the ridge there, and while we were about 500 feet short of the summit, it became extremely cold. This was October, and again, like I said, you learn from your trips. We were not adequately prepared for that degree of bitter cold, and there was a very strong wind as well. So the wind chill was extremely low. So this was as high as we got, but we had some good views there. Here again, views of great unclimbed peaks. This is, I come to one of my favorite glaciers in Himachal. It's called the Chango, and I've been there 3 times. The first time I heard about it was in the late 1980s. And that's a quote from a gentleman who had climbed a neighboring peak called Aloke, which is now I believe the second highest peak in Himachal, or the third, I'm not too sure. It's the third, yeah. And he had seen the Chango Glacier from the coal. He had come up from the other side from a village called Nako. And this is what he wrote. I can imagine nothing better than a season's climbing with a base camp well up on the Chango Glacier. There's an abundance of suitable sites and a variety of climb within easy reach. And he is absolutely right. There have been only about 5 teams which have gone into the Chango. There was Yusuf Zahir, he went in there twice. Ramesh Bhattacharjee went in there once. And then it was the 3 times that me and my friends went. Even today, I think there's a gentleman here who attempted Granite Peak, which you'll see last year. Was it last year? Yeah, last year. So that's a Chango village, very easily accessible on the highway. It's about 10,000 feet above sea level. And the Chango Nala comes down straight about 6,000 feet from the glacier. The head of the glacier is almost 18,000 feet. There are very few places to camp on this route, and you have to be lucky. There is only this point where there's a little stream in the right season after the spring melt, June, July. That also dries up by August, September. So I've just combined this to show you what the terrain is like. Obviously, the price of this glacier still remains that peak there. It's actually unnamed on the Survey of India maps, so we just like to call it Granite Peak, though I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm not sure if it's granite at all, but well, it sounds good. And this is one of the sources of water we had in both in 93, 95 and 98. So, 93, there was Harsha, there was Ajay Tambe from Pune, and myself, that's me. Raghu and Franklin were base camp keepers, and this is one of the few times we had a resident cook throughout the expedition. He would stay at base camp, but even he evacuated for about a week because he had a toothache, so he went down and he left everybody there. So the plan was in 1993 to try and see where we could get onto this peak, but we had atrocious weather. Twice we had to retreat to base camp, and this peak, which was so rocky initially, this was the state by the time the storms cleared. So we didn't even go there. So we thought we'll go into the side nala right from advanced base, and there was this peak is again unclimbed, 6303, very rocky, very technical. And there's this peak called Ninjeri. Yusuf Zahir has named it that because of his first ascent. They took the very long, that ridge runs out of the picture, South Ridge. So we thought maybe, it's always interesting to try a new route on a peak. So we thought we'll go in here, climb up this, and try and get onto this west face here. We had to go through this very narrow kind of icefall area, a lot of rockfall. We got hit by some ice as well, and by the time we got onto the pole, it was bad weather was moving in again. So we abandoned that idea, and now we had very few days left. And right across on the other side was this other very attractive peak. This had been attempted once by Yusuf from the other side, and we had been looking at it. There has been a lot of snowfall, as you can see, during that period. So with with a last ditch attempt to kind of bag some kind of peak, we went up to the foot of this peak. It was about minus 20 degrees, I remember, when we pitched camp. We lost one tent pole. But the weather continued similar. Everything is coated with, these are all very rocky peaks, but you can see the conditions right now. That's Harsha outside his tent. We did try and get up this. We thought, oh, it's so cold, it must be all frozen hard. But we were wrong. Even at minus 20, the snow which had fallen continuously for a couple of days was so soft we were sinking initially up to our knees and then up to our waist. And to compound matters, Ajay was wearing a single skin climbing boot, not a double boot. So his feet were like almost getting frostbitten. So that was that for 1993. So, but once you get a kind of bee in your bonnet, you want to see, let's see what can be done. So 1995 we were back. This time we managed to place a camp here, right at the foot of this peak, which we thought we would climb. This time there were two new guys. Ajay couldn't come in 95. Harsha was there. And this is Jishnu Das out of the picture, and this is his climbing partner, Pyar Singh from a village I think Gagnani near Gangotri. He lives there. Great chap. And as usual, my friend Franklin, he just treks, but he goes up to 19,000 feet without any problems. And sometimes he wears sneakers up to that altitude. Very, very hardy guy, and he's the guy I've left alone at base camp or advanced base, absolutely alone on his own for 10 days at a time. He can handle solitary camping for sure. This is all the equipment that we could muster. Not much by today's standards, but what the hell. You can see our camp down there, and the start of the route is here. So we got about 3 days of favorable weather on this in this season, and great climbing. Not technically not very on the rock climbing scale. I wouldn't say it's very difficult. I mean probably 5.6, 5.7. But it's the altitude, because all this climbing you're doing about 18,500 feet plus. So every move that you make is quite exhausting. We led the route on rock shoes, and then fixed some ropes, followed it up with our climbing mountaineering boots, because the plan was to go up, bivouac somewhere, and keep going. So we did fix rope, but we did not leave many pitons behind at the end of the trip as well. So finally we reached on the third day. What we do is we climb a bit, fix ropes, come rappel back down to the advanced base. So for 3 days we did that. On third day we reached a high point. And this also demonstrates to you the group dynamics has to be right in your team. And there was some disagreements between Jishnu and Harsha, and we had some issues, yeah. So we were not really functioning very smoothly as a four-person team. But to give you an idea of where we got to, that's a high point there. So you can see there's a lot of mountains still to be covered from the advanced base here all the way. So after Jishnu and Pyar Singh left, Harsha and I went back up. We actually went back almost to base camp, even lower, and then we came back up, hoping that, again, it was pride. We said, you know what, let's try and push the high point a little further. We knew we didn't stand a chance. So we bivouacked at just below the high point. We bivouacked for 2 nights. It was cold, it was not stormy, but it was not ideal weather for rock climbing at that altitude. I did give it a try. I don't have that picture here, but I could just about reach the previous high point. So we again abseiled off, and we quit the mountain. These guys wanted to wear all the gear on the way back because it looks cool. So in 1998, I was back there with Arun Samant from the Himalayan Club, and Anil Chavan, Dorji and Ram Gopal. They were from Chango village. And Chodup had been with me in 95 as well. He's from Chango village as well. And new friend Ravi Wadaskar. And this time we decided we are going to leave Granite Peak totally alone. Let's look for something easier and more doable, which was a good thing. We got a lovely rainbow at the lake camp, so that was a good omen. The Chango peas are among the sweetest I have ever tasted. Chango is a very, very prosperous village. Apricots, peas, apples. There are more. Choto was telling me last year, I was there, he said there are more cars than people in the village. And during the summer, these vegetable traders come up all the way from places like Chandigarh. And you see the locals walking around, their pockets bulging with money, because they're selling all their produce. We decided to focus on the very first peak you see on the left as you come up. So that peak had about 6 pitches of fairly steep, hard snow pitches. And towards the top it was a scramble. Now from the top of this peak, we finally got a good look at Ninjeri's west face. Again, you can see, even if we had made it up to the col here, we were coming up from below. And this is the south ridge of the first ascent. This is a long way to go. And this is a 6,600 plus meters. So it's a fairly high peak. This again is the 6,000 plus rock peak that I showed you earlier in the 93 picture. Again unclimbed. And we got another glimpse of Granite Peak looking straight through to Tibet. You know that this ridge defines the India-Tibet or India-China border. So we had reached this point here. So again, a long way to go to get to this ridge and then maybe get there. If you're thinking of attempting this, maybe there's a way up from here. You can actually get up to this col, and you can't see what's behind here, but there could be a big snowfield, better access to get up onto that ridge. But you might need a Chinese visa or something. I'm not too sure, but nobody checks, honestly. That is Leopardia. And Arun and Dorji and Anil, in one single push from base camp, which is way down, they went up the glacier. This is the west col. From there you can descend to the other village called Nako. They put up a camp there and they went to the summit. Unfortunately, I don't have his summit pictures, but this is a view on the way. And this again is Granite Peak, Ninjeri. Dorji, who was helping actually my friend, the other guy, Choduk, build his house. He was very disappointed in the summit because, you know, Arun and Anil had told him, hey, you know what, you'll be able to see Tibet clearly from that. But unfortunately, on the day they summited, it was cloudy, it was not clear. So for him, it was, the climb was not enough. He said, I didn't see Tibet. And the next peak we tackled was our old friend, Corner Peak, which we had attempted in 1993. So this time we were a little more lucky. But on the first day when we pitched camp just below it, I almost burned down the tent because the gas, the gas stove, the MSR with a gas canister, there was something wrong with the cable. So when I lit it, the whole thing went up in flames. I had to throw it out just in time to save the tent. So initially there were 4 of us, Ram Gopal, Chodup, Ravi and me. So we sent Chodup down to base camp for some fuel, because we also had the regular MSR, multi-fuel stove. So we had some kerosene down there. I said, now we have no gas, so can we just go down and come up the next day with fuel? And he went down with Ram Gopal, because Ram Gopal suddenly was not feeling well. Though the previous day he was very optimistic. He had a lock of his sister's hair, which he wanted to plant on the summit of this peak, because she had gone off to become a nun, a Buddhist nun. So for him it was going to be a very auspicious trip. But unfortunately, poor chap had to go back down to base and even all the way back down to Chango village. Anyway, the next day, Chodup came, he brought us the fuel. So one day we had spent, almost dehydrated. We were sucking on snow, we were melting snow in black plastic bags. That's all the thing we had. So the rest of the evening, we just rehydrated. There was just Ravi and me now. And we set off again at about 4 o'clock in the morning. We found this nice ramp, or almost like steps cut into the ice. We had to get across this crevasse. We didn't know, there was no route which nobody had come up from this side, so there was no previous information. It was just like we were playing it by ear. But we finally did make it, and surprise, on the top, on the summit plateau, there was a huge field, like almost the size of a couple of football fields. There were two summits. We made sure we went to both just to be sure. So that was one, and the other one was a snowy thing. And that happened to be the higher one by about 30 feet. From there, we had this tremendous view of Rio Purgil, which is again rarely climbed. This was climbed by Zahir and team also along this long ridge. And when they got to the top, guess what? They found some slings left by the ITBP which had climbed it earlier, but they had left no record. This is a Leo Pargyal, of course, the regular route up from Nako, West Pole, up this. Leo Pargyal also has some other routes which, if you're looking for technically harder routes on Leo Pargyal at that altitude, it's there on the left. I had a cup of tea, my highest cup of tea. I grew up in Calcutta, so I love my chai. Yes, this is just a bit of information of these other two peaks at the head of the glacier. Both are again unclimbed. We tried to find a route up here through this gully here, and there's a waterfall which comes down from this hanging ice field. So if you can cross that and climb this, you would be in position. If you could set up camp here, you'd have both these beautiful rock peaks. They should be doable, as day climbs from here. And the altitude is just over 6,000 meters, so it's not too bad. So that was goodbye to Chango for the last time. I wish I could go back again. I love the place.